Good morning, everyone. We are presenting our mini lesson plan for grade 8, focusing on the topic photosynthesis. Our presentation will show how Bloom's taxonomy is applied across the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domain, and how each objective aligns with the learning activity and assessment in a real life guidance classroom. My name is Rhoda Wallison, along with my partner, Miss Headley Smith. Let's get into it. A overview of the Bloom's domain. Bloom's taxonomy helps teachers to design objective that supports how the student think, which is the cognitive domain, incorporate the student's feelings and emotions, which is the affective domain, and include the psychomotor domain, which is hands-on skills experience. This is important in the science classroom because it allows students to understand concept, value, scientific process, and applied hands-on skills. In this lesson, we focus on balancing all three of the domains so that students could have a complete learning experience. Our cognitive objective for learning photosynthesis. We created five objectives following the Bloom's hierarchy from lower level of thinking to a higher order of thinking. Students begin the lesson by recalling the three requirements for photosynthesis, which is sunlight, carbohydrates, and water. Follow to the deepened understanding, applying the knowledge, which what will happen to a plant that is placed in a dark cupboard for a week. Next, we went on to analyze the, by differentiating between the raw materials and the products of photosynthesis. Then, lastly, the students were asked to justify the statement: without photosynthesis, most life on Earth would not exist. The cognitive assessment tools that were used in this lesson plan. The first one, to assess the cognitive skills, we quickly use affirmative checks like thumbs up and thumbs down to recall the requirement for photosynthesis. Students were then paired with another classmate to see if they understand the photosynthesis process and how the plant make food. We as teachers listen to the students for accuracy. The students were then asked to label a diagram showing the process of photosynthesis or mostly the word equation. For evaluating, students were asked to justify whether life would exist without photosynthesis. These strategies cater for both our strong readers and writers and for the students that struggle with writing and reading. These are some examples of our five assessment. The affect the affective objective. We wanted to foster emotional growth and value. Therefore, at the end of this lesson, students will value the importance of plant in sustaining life on Earth and also demonstrate a positive attitude for catering for plants within the school compound and outside. This aligns with Guyana focus on environmental education and sustainable development. We wanted students to appreciate plants. Therefore, we decided on two strategy: an appreciation reflection. Students identify and state the role of plant within our environment when shown different image of plant in different settings. Strategy 2, I myself observe and take notes to the students' response about the plants within our community environment. To end the affective affective assessment, exit slips such as an reflection, why are plants important to us in Guyana was asked. Observing the attitude during group work was assessed by the teacher, and before the students leave, we asked them to state, name one important thing that you have learned today. These methods allow us to see whether the students not only understand the science but also value plants and their environment. I now pass you to my group member, Miss Headley Smith. Thank you.
The next objective that we had met the psychomotor level of Bloom's taxonomy following two aspects. One, to have the students build a photosynthesis flow chart, which was measured by a checklist, and two, to have them competently use a dropper to add water to wash a discolored leaf, and followed by iodine to stain to determine the presence of glucose in a laboratory experiment. This was done with a rating scale which allowed for the students to follow simple instructions of how to use it to allow maximum uptake of water and iodine to wash and stain in the shortest time. They were required to follow the instructions of squeeze, release, squeeze, and arrange the flow process of photosynthesis in a straight line with limited error in the time of 30 seconds. The laboratory experiment is seen in the video. These tasks help students who learn best by doing to demonstrate understanding without relying heavily on writing skills. This means of using a checklist and the rating skill assists to have all of our activities be recorded accurately in an order and to also evaluate teamwork. This ensured the assessments were fair and observable. Our activities were aligned to the developmental stages. We began with something relatable, a real plant from the schoolyard. We then used diagrams to be able to have them follow the flow chart to arrange your photosynthesis being occurred, as well as to visualize and conceptualize the process. The students were also able to reflect on why plants matter in their daily lives, referring to its use as food, referring to its importance as starting the food chain, referring to its importance as a decorative plant providing oxygen, also referring to its importance in absorption of water during rainfall and prevention of erosion. Since many Guyanese classrooms include students with mixed reading levels, differentiation is essential whenever you're planning a lesson. We included visuals, verbal responses, and group support for students who struggled with reading. For our advanced students, they received extension questions where they answered what was the role of chlorophyll, as well as how is glucose stored in a leaf after it's been produced. We also aligned our cognitive tasks, all right, which is very, very important. And our cognitive tasks measure the thinking skills. The affective task measured their values and their appreciation for photosynthesis and plants, and the psychomotor task measured the hands-on skills that they were able to do using the dropper, as well as arranging the photosynthesis process in a flowchart. This ensured that every objective also had a matching activity and a valid assessment tool. We grounded the lesson in a real Guyanese classroom example. We used low-cost materials and the students understood the complex process. Even the struggling students who are not able to read were able to successfully build a model of photosynthesis with a flowchart. And this demonstrated that they were able to build learning abilities at all different domains. In conclusion, using Bloom's domains to design educational objectives help create balanced and effective lessons. Our photosynthesis lesson shows how cognitive, affective, and psychomotor objectives can be aligned with activities and assessments to support all learners in Guyanese classrooms. Thank you very much.